just to start with this entire session, I would just like to first thank you all for joining, and all of you who are looking at this webinar right now. Again, thanks for being here. So this webinar is primarily for GMAT aspirants, and since we'll be dealing with a very niche topic, but a very important topic in verbal component of sentence correction itself. But before we start, I want to just introduce a little bit about what Leverage Edu does. So Leverage Edu is India's most trusted study abroad organization here in India. We will not just be catering to your applications for studying abroad. We'll be guiding you throughout your journey, that what after MBA, right? What after MBA, which schools to select, which geographies to select, and from your previous experience, whether you want to go ahead for just MBA or your bachelor's, or let's say, for example, for your UG and everything. So it's basically, you could say, a one-stop solution for all your worries related to your study abroad journey. Now, before we start, I would like to also introduce Parminder. Like I said, I love the way she teaches verbal, and right. So we'll be starting with the topic. So over to you, Parminder. Yeah.
Thank you so much. So I'll start with sharing my screen. Okay, so today's topic is the modifiers rules that we generally get, wrong, or we find difficult to understand. Okay, so before starting, the topic, the main topic of modifier, few details about the sentence correction section. So in the verbal section, I hope you guys know, because as I got to know from one of the students that he has been preparing for GMAT since Feb. So you may know that there are three that in verbal section there are three subtopics. You'll be tested on sentence correction, you'll be tested on critical reasoning, you'll be tested on reading comprehension. So what is sentence correction? Okay, so when it comes to your mind, sentence correction, probably the moment you hear correction, so you understand that you will be basically asked to correct the grammar, the meaning of the sentence. Okay, so in sentence correction, you'll get a sentence which is either partially underlined or completely underlined. You'll have 5 options. One of the options will be the replica of the underlined portion. Another 4 will be offering you the changes, and your job will be to find out the one answer which gives you the best correction and the best meaning. Probably the underlined portion can be the correct the way it is written.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And the sentence correction is not just about grammar. It's also about the sentence style, the idiom usage. So I have seen, and if you have been preparing, you must have seen an official guide. It's written in the explanation that this answer choice is not idiomatic or unidiomatic, not idiomatic usage. So idiom is not the neither nor, either or, between and pairing. Idiom is also the way you make a sentence. Okay, if I distort the formation of the sentence, I place the things in a haphazard way, that's making it unidiomatic. Okay, and if it is unidiomatic, it will be rejected. So idioms is the general usage of the way the sentence has to be structured.
Yeah, Parminder, I think that most students here, they get confused between idioms and proverbs. So once they hear idiom, they think that they're talking of that Hindi phrase muhavra. But unfortunately, idioms are standardized English conventions. Like that is what it is. Like if to give an example, refer to the book or refer from the book. So it's always refer to the book. So why is it refer to the book? There's no option here. We don't have a justification. It's just always there that 100 years from now, refer and to were clubbed together. And basically that becomes an idiomatic phrase. So based on this itself, I believe that we can do another system only on the important idioms as well.
Yeah,
Right?
it's like math, I think. In math, to
Absolutely.
your question, I mean, there is obviously, being proven that why certain thing is certain, why one into other is,
Yeah.
X, Y, Z. Similarly, when we say refer to, so it's just, the sign grammar, the language scientists sat together and decided that this is how the language has to be.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
how humans are going to speak. Okay,
Yeah.
so that there are no confusions. Okay, so English is not our native language. So probably you may come across, problems understanding that why X is wrong and Y is right. Okay, so why certain a combination is correct and why another combination is wrong. So that comes more by experience, so you have to start learning. So it's quite, I mean, you'll see the number of idioms also quite limited. And with that, as Srishti said, refer to and refer from. One example apart from this, Srishti, otherwise also the construction of the sentence, for example, even in Hindi, if I make a wrong sentence, we identify just like that. Okay, but in English
Exactly.
we may,
Yeah.
because we speak wrong at times, so we start taking
Absolutely. Yeah.
correct. Okay,
Yeah.
so you'll be tested on grammar usage, sentence style. So when we talk about style, so GMAT plays a lot with style. Okay, so
Yeah.
on style, GMAT will be giving you something which may sound wrong to your ears, right? You may find it very awkward, but it can be correct. Okay, one example is, can my sentence start with because? Yes, it can. Why can't it start with
Yeah.
sentence?
That's a major, major question that many
General
students.
question that
General question: how can you
what is
start a sentence with
with
because?
because, right? So it's
No,
style,
you
right?
can.
Yeah,
It
it's style.
genuinely can. Yeah.
Something wrong is wrong, right? But a style is, GMAT is going to give you various styles. So I generally tell my student that GMAT has infinite ways to build right answer choices,
Yeah.
but very
And
limited ways to build wrong answer choices. Learn what is wrong in GMAT. Simple as
so
that.
you'll be able to like eliminate so quickly when we'll be dealing with this. At
Hmm.
the same time, I would just want to add, like, just on the because front, if because there are some, I think, attendees here who are, you could say, they're already like, they have practiced a lot. So if they also face the similar difficulties between because and stuff, so because is basically a subordinating conjunction. So there's a list of subordinating conjunctions, like say, for example, whenever. So whenever I'm here, comma, I teach grammar. So whenever, if I can start a sentence with a subordinating conjunction like whenever, so I can start a sentence with the similar because as well. That because she was late, comma, he handled the case. So basically that, right? So I think that we can always like substitute it or substantiate it with an example,
It's
right?
basically, you start taking your the language to be very limited,
True,
thing. It's not limited. I mean, there are various styles, and all the styles are grammatically, can be grammatically correct. Okay,
true.
so sentence correction is a huge part of your test. Okay, you're going to see 13 to 14 correct questions based on sentence correction. And these questions will be testing on various concepts such as subject verb agreement, tenses, pronouns, modifiers, comparison, parallel structure, idioms. So you have to strengthen all these topics. So there are subtopics in sentence correction. Similarly, there are subtopics in critical reasoning. There can be sub question category in reading comprehension. So the three question categories are so further divided into for your ease, into subcategories, so that you start understanding how they make a difference or how they're important. So these are the topics for your help. Okay, and today we are going to start with modifiers.
Yeah.
So modifiers, right? As the name probably may imply, that what are modifiers? Modifier is anything which is being used to modify something else in a sentence.
Or
We understand
describe,
it. Yes,
right?
right. We call it description. In technical language, it is also called a phrase. Any phrase in a sentence will qualify as a modifier.
Yeah.
Okay, we understand modifiers better as adjectives and adverbs. We are more well versed with these words. Okay,
Yeah.
so you now forget these words, understand that anything which is acting like an adjective, acting like an adverb, is a modifier. Okay, so
That's basically a very clear cut and a very layman understanding of what modifier could be.
hmm,
Even though we know at a, you could say, like being grammarians ourselves, we know that personally, adjective is basically a type of a modifier. But for any kid to be understanding what exactly is a modifier, that's the best way to understand that, what adjective does. Adjective tells you what? Basically a description. So that's easier to just understand the concept.
and I think we are more comfortable with one word modifiers: black cat, white horse,
Yeah.
tall building. We're
Yeah.
comfortable with that, right? But obviously GMAT can't give you a one word modifier. And why is GMAT giving you modifiers? That's very important, right? If
Right.
GMAT gives you a sentence, the core sentence, the basic sentence, it will be a subject and verb. What will you correct in that? A third class student does a correction in a subject verb, sentence. Okay. So to make the sentence complex, GMAT has modifiers and dependent clauses. Okay. So modifiers is, I will say, modifiers are everywhere in GMAT sentences. No GMAT sentence can be without modifier. It complicates, the sentence. It makes it longer, and we find it, hence difficult, and we find it, unidiomatic. I mean, if there is any error. So modifiers, as Srishti said, descriptions, describing, phrases or words. I won't call it, a word. I'll call it words because GMAT prefers,
Yeah.
long modifiers. So I'll
Yeah.
show you some examples. You will see 3-word modifier also. You will see probably, 13-word modifier also. You'll see 23-word modifier. So that it can be as long as possible. Okay. Simply a modifier is which is coming in a sentence to describe something. Okay, it can be a noun, it can be a verb. If it is describing a noun, it will be telling us what or how the noun is, the position, the situation,
Quality.
the quality. Okay, the smart student, for example. So we are talking about the student who works quickly. So how the student works will come on that later. What is the quality of the student? The student is smart, right? And a verb modifier will tell you how the thing is happening, when the thing happened, why the thing is happening, and these detailings. Okay, so a
Right.
modifier can basically give you various types of descriptions.
Right.
And so Srishti said adjective and adverbs are a type of a modifier. Okay, so there are
Right.
subtypes.
I
So if
think we have a lot of types, right? Like
yeah,
participles being there or relative pronouns being there as basically like acting as what, like a type of a modifier. But I think that when we are describing, you could say taking just a sentence, like if I take it from the screen itself, tired from playing basketball, Charles decided to take a nap. So now here, if I'm looking at who was tired from playing basketball, so the answer immediately comes out to be what? That Charles. Charles decided to take a nap. So that entire phrase is describing whom? It's describing Charles.
Charles.
Right.
So that's what modifiers are. So there are subcategories. Okay. So probably doing subcategories, all the subcategories today may not be possible, but we'll
Yeah.
definitely show you some categories so that you understand. Adjective and adverb are one of those categories. So Srishti has taken name. I'll show you the example. Probably you may not remember the names. Okay. So
Right.
that's what modifiers do. Now, what is so if that is what modifiers are, what do we have to take care of? Okay, let's do that. So there is a rule related to modification. Okay, modifiers. The modifier should be placed so close as possible to what it modifies that it gives it rightly describes that thing or that action in the sentence. Okay, I've written 3 examples. It says only Tina can eat the pizza. So you'll see the way only switches the placement of the only is switching. It changes the meaning of the sentence. Okay, it says Tina can only eat the pizza. It changes. So only Tina means out of the group probably there, only Tina can eat the pizza, others can't, right? Tina can only eat the pizza, she can't eat anything else, right? It changes the meaning. Tina can eat the pizza only, she can't eat anything else, out of the eatable items. Okay, so it changes the meaning, of the sentence. So therefore, placement matters when it comes to modifiers. I would like to point out 2 things, right? As I said earlier, that GMAT will be giving you modifiers. There will be modifiers in the sentence. So not every time you will be tested on the placement of the modifiers. Okay, it will be just there to complicate the sentence, to hide your subject, to make it longer, to make it difficult to read. But at certain times, when the placement is not right, then we are tested on modifiers. Okay, at that time there is a direct testing of modifiers. Okay, but other times there will be modifiers in the sentence. Okay, it's
Yeah.
not that that modifier will not be there. Hmm? So let's start with an example. Okay, so let me show you one sample which can help you understand that how do modifiers basically work and look like. Okay, so as you can see, the sentence here, if you read, this sentence is actually starting with a modifier. It says a prolific. So I want all of you to read the sentence, in entirety. Okay, so read the complete sentence from here till here. Okay, and the first thing you have to do is you have to try to understand what is the main thing the sentence wants to tell you. Okay, so if you read the sentence, you will see that I'll read the sentence for you. So, a prolific architect who worked from the turn of the century until late 1950s, Julia designed nearly 800 buildings in California. So this is what the main action. Okay, when I say the
Yeah.
main sentence, try to find out the main action and the main actor. Okay, the subject and the verb. So the main action and the main actor here are Julia, who designed 800 buildings. So Julia designed 800 buildings. This is the core sentence. Perhaps most notably, Williams Monumental Estate at this place. Okay, so what we will right now see is, I'll talk about the placements of modifier in a while. We will focus our attention on this opening modifier. Okay? This is the non-underlined part. Non-underlined parts in sentence correction are correct, and
Yeah.
they should be used to correct the sentence. Okay, they should be used in when we are correcting the underlined portion to find out the corrections.
Basically, we can take hints from this very part, right, Parminder? That's what,
Yeah,
right?
yes.
Yeah.
If otherwise is the situation, you'll read this sentence and you'll read every answer choice clearly, and
Hmm.
then you will try to find out what is the answer. You look at different words, you look at different placement. But now, since you know that a modifier and the modified noun should touch each other,
Right.
okay, so first ask yourself this question: who is the prolific architect who worked from turn of the century until 1950s? You should ask yourself this: what is this modifier for? Okay, opening modifiers are always for the subject, right? Okay, so who is the prolific architect? So the answer will come to your mind is it's Julia, right? So the 100% rule is, I mean, one definite thing is that your sentence must start with Julia. Okay, so do you have any sentence apart from A that's starting with Julia? Any sentence?
No.
There's no sentence, so you need not do anything in this question. Answer is simply A.
Yeah.
So this is what knowledge of one topic does.
Yeah. So just to reiterate what Parminder said earlier on also, remember we said one thing that is there, that modifiers, the thing with modifiers is that they should be basically kept as close to the noun that they are describing, guys. Right? So just to reiterate that, if we look at this very question, a prolific architect who worked from the turn of the century until the late 1950s, who is that person? Julia Morgan, end of story. And the way she basically eliminated all B, C, D, E options, that's how you have to basically take it. So we took the hint from the a non-underlined portion to basically fix up our problem. That's it. So it takes like what? 40 seconds
40
max
seconds.
to max, right, Parminder?
Yeah, right. And another
Yeah.
thing is, if you are new to the sentence correction and new to the verbal section, our answers come by process of elimination. Okay, we
Yeah.
never hunt for the right answer. We see what is wrong, and the moment we found out what has to be right formation, we can eliminate anything that's violating it. Okay, because the
Yeah.
non-underlined portion has to go with the right connection. So the right connection is Julia here. So anything that's violating it will be out. Okay, so it becomes a 40 seconds task for us, just because we know a simple rule. Okay,
Yeah.
let me give you one absurd sentence. Okay, suppose I want to say, there is a tall building in Delhi, and kids do this. They say there is a building in tall Delhi, then parents correct them. See, you want to say the building is tall, not Delhi tall,
Yeah.
right? So then they say, okay, what should I do? Then they tell them that you have to place it
Right.
close to tall. Okay, so it's just that we're doing that at a
Yeah.
graduate level. Okay, we're looking at it in a logical way. If tall has to be there before or after building,
Hmm.
similarly any modifier, any description coming in a sentence should be close to whatever it is modifying in the sentence. You can't please place it anywhere and then debate that what if it means that, what, okay, all
Yeah.
this. The rule is the rule. Okay, so this is the introduction of modifier. Okay, the very first basic rule is the modifier should be attached to the modified noun, okay,
Yeah.
or
So the
whatever it is
thing that it
modifying in
is
the sentence.
describing. Yes. Yeah.
Hmm. So now how modifications will be tested in GMAT? Okay, so the placement. I'm going to talk about the placement. I can't talk about the types a lot because for types we need, a free time, and probably we need, one or two lectures. Okay, so I'll be talking about the placement so that you take the takeaway. There is some takeaway, from today's lecture. So the placement of modifiers, right? So the very first placement, as we did in the previous question, is in the starting. Okay, so you start the sentence starts with a modifier, there is a comma, and then you have the sentence, okay, like this here. Hmm? so
Right.
so typically, set off by a comma, the modifying phrase will be providing you information about, the subject, object, or some noun in the sentence.
Right.
Okay, so the moment you see an opening modifier, the first thing you have to do is be alert and ask yourself very quickly what it is modifying, sort it, and move ahead. Okay, so
Yeah.
if you remember our last lecture, that is what we did for subject and verbs also. Okay,
Yeah, yeah,
uh,
yeah. I think
we
we
learned.
did a little bit in like if you guys watch our previous, you could say the entire webinar, it's there on YouTube, it's there on Leverage Live TV. So we did a little bit on punctuations as well, right? And we did a little bit on subject verb agreement as well. So we were just highlighting those topics. So just to get the connectivity, like she said, like in an effort to do well in the exam. Again, that's an opening modifier. So like from the previous thing only, what is that particular sentence or what is that particular part of the sentence describing? Who is doing well in the exam, right, Parminder?
Yeah, right. So another thing is, which so there are multiple, things related to branches of modifier. For example, one is the placement, other is the type, you know, and the third is, so if one of you ask me that, is it always a case that it should touch, a modified uh, verb or a noun? There are some flexible modifiers also. Again,
Yeah.
that's, we'll call it an advanced concept, but that you learn when you learn the very first thing, that a modifier noun and a modifier and the modified noun, or the verb should touch each other, right? The noun specifically, okay?
Yeah.
So there is a flexibility too, but that's a later on thing. The very first thing is you understand that something is a modifier, group of words, a phrase is a modifier, and then how they should be, placed so that it gives the right meaning. Okay,
Right.
so this is one placement of modifier. The other placement of modifier is in the middle and at the end, right? So Srishti, would you like to talk about the middle modifier, the one which
Yeah,
comes?
so the middle modifier is one thing that I feel is the most easiest and a very handy tool. Which, see, guys, if you look at the screen, we have a sentence that's saying that John, a laptop mechanic, came to my house yesterday. Now just eliminate that for a minute. John
Hmm.
came to my house yesterday. The meaning is intact, right?
Hmm.
Now, speaking from this, a laptop mechanic. Who is the laptop mechanic? Who is this particular phrase or these three words describing? Basically whom? Basically John, right? So again, if I am were to, so these basically, this is a type of a modifier that in, you could say pure grammar terms, we call them appositives, like very fancy words. Huh? But all I'm trying to tell you here is that it's again something that is describing someone in a sentence. And if you see, it's again closely attached to the thing that it is describing, right? So here, if I say Parminder, comma, my best friend, comma, is teaching, right? So my best friend is basically describing Parminder, right? So it's basically that structure. But one thing that I think, Parminder, correct me here, sometimes many of the students, they even use, you could say, just eliminate the modifier to make the sentence easier. So that's also like a, you could say, a extended concept that, we teach in our classes as it is, so that the elimination makes it easier, right?
You can treat it as a fluff, right?
As a fluff.
Eliminate the
Yeah,
fluff
that's
and
the
make
word.
the
Yeah.
sentence, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So there is another fancy term for the modifiers which come in the middle. It's called dangling modifier, right? When it is actually a dangling modifier and it's a advanced question, it can be difficult also, right? It can be
Yes.
really
Yes.
difficult to identify. I mean, that generally comes in the, that such questions come in 700 to 800 level. Okay,
Yeah.
and last placement is modifier at the end. Okay, so you can see Jack is traveling to Japan, in Japan, the land of rising sun.
Yeah.
Okay, so the type can vary. Okay,
Hmm.
so Jack is traveling to Japan, okay, for example, Parminder teaches in the class taking help of, notes.
Hmm.
So how I teach in the class. Okay, so my ending modifier noun is not as simple as the land of rising sun, of the
Right.
rising sun, right? It's describing, it's a verb participle modifier, right? So the types can change and can complicate the situations, but what you need to let for yourself also simplify the things, right? Make it
Yeah.
so that you know the basics. For example, right now understand the placement, starting, middle, at the end. Okay, in the starting also it has a comma, in the end also it can have a comma before it, and in
Hmm.
the middle sometimes it is closed with the commas and dashes,
Hmm.
sometimes it is not. Okay, it is not mandatory. Another thing is, in fact, since we're talking about advanced concepts, Rishti, I think it's not always that your modifiers are, non-essential. They can be essential also.
They can be essential
Without them the
also. I
sentence
agree.
may seem, weird. Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
there are, that's right, no? So
I think
sometimes
I think we have like two participants raised their hands from quite some time.
Mhm.
One is Dorai Pandian. I
Mhm.
think, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing your name incorrectly. You can always put in your question in the question and answer, and we can always answer. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, and I think that, yeah. So Yeah, go ahead, please. We'll
Is
read
there any
your
particular
question.
question? If there is, Srishti, do read it. I would like to,
Yeah. That's what I was just looking at, like not primarily about the topic. So like I was just looking at that. So she's raised her, he or she has raised his hand. So let's see. Yeah.
So let's look at, the modifier. So I will show you the length as well as, the modifier. I mean,
Yeah.
so let's read the sentence. So it says, though subject to same wild animal control efforts that killed off almost all wolves in North America over the past century. Now, if I'm reading the sentence right, I'm a novice or I've just started, GMAT, I'll find that this is going right. So many words, must be a sentence, initiated.
Hmm.
But we'll see whether it's actually sentence, started or not.
Yeah.
So it says the coyote's amazing ability of adapting to presence of humans has enabled it to expand its range into Alaska and Central America, right? So
Yeah.
it's talking about. So what I do is when I read a sentence, I try to find out the core sentence. I try to find out the main, sentence, the main, meaning. That obviously has a technical part also. I try to see what is the sentence talking about. That becomes a subject, and
Yeah.
what is the main action done by that subject. Okay,
Hmm.
GMAT creates a lot of problems related to subject and verb. Disagreement. It gives you a subject with multiple modifiers, no, main verb. That's a general way of making a wrong sentence. Okay, so the sentence is that coyote's amazing ability, has enabled it to expand into this
Right.
range.
Right.
Okay, that's
So
the
we're
main thing.
talking about the ability here, right? In this very sentence, we're talking about the ability, right?
Yeah.
But technically, that's the incorrect part. That's the underlined part. So that way, it is like we have to focus, like Parminder said, we have to focus on the non-underlined part
Hmm.
to get the underlined part correct, right,
Hmm.
Parminder?
Right.
Yeah.
So if we are talking about the ability, right? So ask ourselves, what is the first part about, right? Is it a dependent clause? Is what is it, talking about? So they say though subject to something, something, something in the century, right?
Yeah.
So the question that will come to your mind is who or what has been subject to, the efforts. So if the moment you have a question who or what, it's a modifier. Okay,
Yeah.
it is starting with a conjunction looking word though, and it's long, but despite that, it's a modifier. Okay, it's not a sentence. Okay, it's a phrase. If you read it carefully, you will see it's a phrase. Okay, what is a phrase? Phrase is anything which has which either has no subject or has no verb. Okay, one of them is missing, so that makes it a phrase. Okay, so though subject to ABC, so what or who is subject to these efforts? So it should be coyote, not the ability of the coyote.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So ability of adapting is something that they're talking about, right? Here in the sentence. But we need the coyote to be there in the sentence for the sentence to be correct, right?
Right. So
Yeah.
even if you can't make that out, you can see the initial part. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
two sentences, I mean, two have directly amazing ability. The sentence is starting with that. One says coyote's amazing ability, right? It has an apostrophe. Okay, so we have to be cautious of apostrophes because if I say, Srishti's bag, I'm talking about bag. Srishti
Yeah.
is just telling us the possession. It belongs to Srishti. I can ignore it.
Yeah.
As I'm ignoring the modifiers, I'm calling it fluff, so we can ignore that. So you can, the moment it says coyote's amazing ability, you can ignore coyote and see the subject, which becomes still again becomes ability. So if you're
Absolutely.
still unable to make out, why this modifier should have, coyote, then read the sentences, right? The sentence should start with coyote. Three are giving you ability as a subject. Two are giving you coyote as a subject. Okay,
Right.
so you read the sentence, you'll understand that it should be coyote because the coyote will be the subject to control efforts, not the ability will be subject to control efforts. So
Hmm.
considering that, we can again eliminate answer choice three answer choices. A, D, and E are out. Okay.
Yeah.
So modifiers can make your job very easy. You can eliminate three answer choices. And one of the questions we eliminated four. That may not be situation every time,
Yeah.
but you can at times eliminate two to three answer choices, and that's a big relief. Okay, because
Yeah.
you just take 10 seconds to eliminate three hefty answer choices. Heavy answer choices. So let's read B and C. So B says coyote because of its. So while I'm reading B now, what I'm doing is I am comparing it with C for changes. I do that. Okay, so you should also do that. Because of its amazing ability of adapting to the presence of humans, has right. I found out something huge. I found out something big, which I definitely know, which I'm sure of, and can be an elimination, tool. So when it says have been, has been, it's a subject verb disagreement, one big topic of GMAT. Okay. So
Yeah.
ask yourself whether it should be have been or has been. So ask yourself means ask what is the subject, who is being, talked here, who have been able to expand their, uh, range, or who has been able to expand its range. So it should be, it is coyote, right? So
Yeah.
we can eliminate answer choice B. Answer is C.
Okay, so we have the question here, and the question is that what is the modifier at the end called? So now, to answer that question, Parminder, like I do have a justification for that answer, but like you want to take this up, or should I just go
The
about
student
it?
is asking name. I think name is
There's no name given here.
no. Yeah.
Yeah, but so what is the modifier at the end call? It depends from question to question, right? Because you don't know whether it's a relative clause modifier. If the modifier is starting, say, for example, if I say, Srishti, the verbal faculty at Level is living in Delhi. Now I want to just describe Delhi, right? So for Delhi, the description I'll have to go about with a sentence that is starting like Delhi, comma, where the pollution or there's a lot of rush. Sorry about Delhi Heights, but yeah, that's the case. So like, that way I'm just describing that place, right? So it depends upon the fact that it is going to be which sort of a modifier, like what is the modifier at the end called. It's very subjective to question.
Hmm. Probably to clarify the question, I think there is only name for the modifier which comes in the middle, dangling modifier, the opening modifier, ending modifier, dangling modifier.
Yeah,
These
so
are
we
the
do
three
have
names.
like misplaced, dangling. There's one category known as squinting also, but that is something that GMAT doesn't test on.
Hmm.
So, but what GMAT tests on is basically a positives, dangling, and your misplaced modifier, primarily speaking, right, Parminder?
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
these are the names given basing the placement. So
yeah,
on the
yeah,
basis of the placement, we call it dangling, we call
yeah.
it ending modifier. And
Bilkul.
if you're asking the type of modifier, there are multiple types:
Multiple
adjective,
types.
adverb,
Yeah.
modifiers that look like, the verbs that look like, verbs, but they're modifiers.
Yeah, so
For
like
example,
participles, like that's one tricky topic when students like they are talking about participles, but
hmm,
like participles are what? So if I say, like, you guys know that there's a present participle and a past participle. Everybody has listened to that word in our, like, grammar classes and stuff. But the thing here is that participle is like, now the present participle is the ing form of the verb, like boil is equal to boiling, but that boiling word doesn't act like a verb, it acts like an adjective.
hmm,
Like if I say the boiling water is kept on the stove, so
hmm,
water is being described as how? It's
hmm.
described as boiling, correct, Parminder?
Yeah, right,
Right.
exactly. Hmm.
So that's basically one of the types of modifiers. So like I am unable to know who this person was, but I hope that, like, we can always like get in touch to study the topic in detail, that's for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have one more question. Okay, and this is slightly trickier question. And let's see, where are the modifiers? So in this question, I thought, there are modifiers at two places. So let's see, and correction is also in both the modifiers. Okay, so what Srishti was talking about probably will be covered now.
Yeah.
So see, it starts like given its authoritative coverage of other science topics. So the first question, the moment you start reading it, is given whose authoritative coverage of other science topics, right? So whatever's, coverage of other science topic, that should come after, but you will read the sentence and finish till end. The textbook's chapters on genetics is surprisingly tentative, which leads one to doubt author scholarship in particular area. Okay, we'll talk about this part later. Okay, this is what Srishti has been talking about: relative pronouns,
Yeah.
relative
Yeah.
pronouns. Okay,
Yeah.
so we'll talk about that later. Let's first, correct the initial part, or see the initial, check the initial part. It says given its authoritative coverage of other science topic, right? So I haven't looked at the answer choices, but I found that it is a modifier and it's modifying something. It says the chapters, as per the sentence, original sentence, chapters authoritative coverage of other science topic. So the book's chapter covering other science topics sounds, wrong to me, because it should be the book covering, the other science topic, and book having the chapter on genetics.
I
But let me
agree.
check answer
Yeah.
choices. Are they proposing us that, right? So A says the chapter, B says the chapter, C says the textbook, D says the chapter. And I hope you now understand that we ignore possessions,
Possessives. Yeah.
uh, possessives, right? Textbook. Okay, so the textbook. So three answer choices are giving me chapter and two are giving me textbook. And I think it should be textbook. You must understand that why it is textbook, because um they're talking about covering other science topics, okay, and then they say they are finding it surprisingly tentative because that chapter is not that as great as probably the author is author scholarship implies. So probably the book is good, the whole book is good considering the other chapter, but that considering other chapters, but that one chapter is going wrong, okay, the one chapter is not that good, okay. So it should be book. So we are able to eliminate answer choice A, we are able to eliminate answer choice B and D. So we are left with C and D. Okay.
Yeah.
So the opening modifier, understanding of that sorted a lot of things for us, right? We are able to eliminate three answer choices. Now for C and D, you will see, there are some other things also changing in the, answer choices. Your attention will go to that. The textbook contains a surprising and tentative chapter. The textbook is surprisingly tentative in its chapters. But I think here GMAT is testing on, which leads and leading. Okay.
Yeah.
So you will see leading looks like a verb and which leads is, so there is a list of relative pronouns. Rishti, would you like to tell the list?
Yeah, so we have different sorts of relative pronouns, who versus whom, right?
Great.
Then whose, which, that, right? So whose again, right? So there are different types of relative
Seven to
where
eight.
also seven to
Seven
eight,
to
yeah,
eight. Seven
seven
to
to
eight
eight,
relative.
yeah,
For example, Srishti, she, Srishti and I, we, somebody
yeah,
else, they, like that. There is a list of relative pronouns: who, which, that, whom, when.
yeah.
And
And
if you
I think that Parminder, which with which we can always like have like there are a lot of components with which involved, that which stands like which will always contain a comma before it, which always stands for the word before it, depending upon all of this. So the
all
technicalities, I believe we can always like when we take our classes, that's when we go down in those technicalities as well, right?
So
Yeah.
if we come on, describing your relative pronoun in detail, then that will take one more lecture, okay?
Right, right,
Let's
right.
focus on, what is the concept here. So the clear concept in one line is relative pronouns are noun modifiers. They only and only refer to nouns, okay? For
Yeah.
example, I can't use he for a verb. I have to use he for some, boy, right? Okay, I can't use he for a verb. I can't use it for a verb. I have to use it for a thing. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Similarly, relative pronouns refer to a noun. Okay. And the ing, the verb modifiers, they refer to, they're flexible. They can refer to, the action, the noun, they're flexible. Okay.
Yeah.
For example, sitting on the chair, Srishti is doing the webinar. So who's sitting on the chair? Srishti. Okay. Sitting on the chair, she, called the other person. So when did she call the other person? While she was sitting on the chair. Okay. So it can be a verb and can be a noun modifier. They're flexible. Okay. So I'm reading the sentence and trying to understand what these modifiers are referring to. Okay. So it says, which leads one to doubt author scholarship in that particular area. So the question that should come to your mind is, what is leading one to doubt author scholarship in particular area? It is that the chapter is tentative. That the
Yeah.
chapter is, right? It's referring to a verb.
Yeah. The state of the chapter,
The
that
state
what
of
it
the
is.
chapter, right?
Yeah.
It is, tentative. It's not that good. That thing is leading to, one to doubt. So you can't describe that with which. Okay. Complex concept. I don't know how much you understood it, but
But I think
complex.
that when they study, like, subject verb agreement, they understand what the subject is, they understand who or what that particular phrase is describing most of the time. So it's not always like we just have one main noun, there could be many main nouns. So in this very question, which by the way, guys, is a tedious question to solve, you get an idea about you could say the tentativeness of the chapter, and then basically analyzes why the answer is like, what's the answer? It's C, right?
It, it should be E.
Sorry, E, right,
Which
right.
one? Yeah, that
Yeah,
you
yeah,
out, right?
yeah,
It's E. Yeah. So It's a difficult concept, but we decided that we'll introduce you to some hard level questions also.
Yeah.
But we can't scare you, okay? That's not our purpose. Our purpose is to teach you.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
So this is what it is. So you go in a in you go gradually, okay? You go you take small steps. You understand.
First we understand subject, then
You
tenses,
understand
then
verb.
modifiers, right?
In
So
modifier also you understand first the rule, then you
yeah,
understand
yeah,
placement, right?
yeah,
Then you see that whether they are matching, then you understand the types. After
yeah.
understanding types also, there are multiple things. The types need to be, when it comes to parallelism of modifier, okay, it's quite
Oh,
complex. I'm
yes.
talking about it. I don't know, I mean, whether I should. Okay, so a verb modifier goes with only a verb modifiers, a relative pronoun goes with only a relative
Yes.
pronoun. Okay,
Yeah.
so there is there are
That's basically when we say which and which, that and that, who's and who's, right, Marvinder, right?
like which
So
can go with that,
yeah,
that can go with, probably when, like, I mean,
yeah,
just randomly saying,
yeah.
so
So those are like very deep in technicalities. When we pick up the topic, or when we pick up those, like you could say the topic primarily with the types, then we'll be able to understand that better.
so
Yeah,
let's read the answer choice C again. It says leading one to doubt author scholarships. Now what is leading one to? The tentativeness, the book is
yeah,
tentative,
yeah.
that's leading one to. That the you are, not talking to me, uh, is making me, crazy. So what's making me crazy? It's you not talking to me. Okay, it's
Hmm.
like that. Okay. Okay, so let's talk about dangling modifiers also. So that's modifiers when they are in, when they are in the middle, or when they're given in such a way. One is when they're coming in the middle, when they're given in such a way. Look at this highlighted sentence, that you are unable to find out what they're referring to. Okay, and we make such sentences a lot when we are, speaking. So using a
Yeah.
stethoscope, heartbeats can be detected. So who's
Now,
using
who is using the stethoscope,
heartbeats?
right?
So
Yeah.
logically, the person who's reading the sentence and trying to understand the sentence and knows the grammar will say, "Is it are these the heartbeats who are using it?" They can't, right?
Yeah.
Right?
So here I would like to just say this thing, like there are times when we are using such dangling modifiers in our speech as well. Where if you are like conversing with, like, let's suppose a lot of you are going to go ahead with your MBA, and then you're going to have your MBA interviews where we're going to be preparing you for, like, like 1 to 2, 3, 4 hours of like interview prep. And this is where I believe that I tell my students that I really need you to when you are talking about, let's suppose, like and making the native speaker understand what you're saying, that's where I make sure that they tell and they take the name of the person. So now in this very sentence, like if they're saying using a stethoscope heartbeats can be detected, to us we are still understanding that, okay, fine, in our conscious mind we understand that there's a doctor who's like checking the heartbeats, and and basically listening to the heartbeat. But to a non-native speaker or to a native speaker, the sentence will be considered abrupt. So modifiers and the grammar in GMAT not just improve you for the GMAT test, they basically prepare you for a much farther in your journey when you are taking, your interviews with those moderators, and like 1 hour interviews which you are having. So I just wanted to bring that up when we are dealing with it,
Hmm.
right? So right, Parminder, go ahead, please.
So let's go to the technical part of this dangling modifier. Okay, so
Yeah.
you can see the correction. So
Hmm.
a doctor is being introduced here. So then my students ask, if this is an official question, can we include a new word? Are we allowed to do so? Right? They ask me this question also. Can we change the meaning of the given sentence? So I generally say, who says that the given sentence is correct? Okay. So you
Yeah.
read it on the forums and you apply it in a generalized way. That doesn't work. Okay. You take it like a game. Okay, it's your test is like a game. There will be situations you have to think as per the given situation. Okay, you can't generalize. Your experiences will help you, but you
Hmm.
can't generalize that X will always lead to Y.
I
Okay.
think, Parminder, at the very difficult end also, when we are looking at 700, 800 level questions, the entire sentence is underlined.
Hmm.
So then that's basically when the game becomes intense, I would say. And that's where knowing or having the knowledge of elimination and having the knowledge of modifiers assists a lot.
Hmm.
Knowing that you know that the first part is the tentative modifier,
Hmm.
you should know yourself that, okay, who is using the stethoscope, right? And automatically look at the answer choices.
Hmm.
Correct?
Hmm. So
Yeah.
I'll show you one sentence, one question, where we'll probably include one word and it will make sense. Okay, so I want all of you to read the sentence. Okay, take, so there is an opening modifier. Okay, by applying optimization techniques commonly used to plan operations, it is possible, right? So again, that's wrong. So who is by applying optimization technique is doing this? Okay, so the name should, or the noun should come here. What is this it referring to? It is possible to determine. So it by applying optimization technique sounds very awkward, okay, unidiomatic, as it is said.
Yeah,
So answer choice A and answer choice C and answer choice D can be eliminated. So you will
correct.
see a new word coming: companies, managers, and managers.
Managers at a company.
So you will see,
Yeah.
you will see managers being introduced. So my students ask, how do we know it is managers? Or these have to be managers. You need to have a noun, okay? Without noun, the sentence will not make sense. As you required, a doctor there, you
Hmm.
need somebody who's, applying this optimization technique used to plan operations, okay? And so you are not including anything. GMAT is proposing you, okay? So out of those proposals, you're choosing the best proposal, okay? So it won't work, so therefore, the inclusion of the word manager works here. Okay, it's correct. Huh?
Right.
So don't get into this thing that why it is whether we can or we cannot. It's the situation. What you're proposed, you choose out of that. Okay,
Yeah.
understanding that it will go ambiguous if I say it. And I can't just go ambiguous on the basis that on the concept which is not even there, that GMAT says you can't include any new word. It's avoided. I mean, keep it soft. Okay, we should not make the inclusions which are not required. So we can read B and E. It's B says the company's manager. So I'm looking at E while reading B. Okay, so you should also do that. How much effort ought to be dedicated to should be dedicated to each of the company's products or these products in order to meet the company's goals. So it says company's products. I'll go on this. Okay, so I choose basically. Okay, it was ought and should also. So
Hmm.
students, what they generally do is they go for the things which they are not sure of. Okay, this is changing. What is it? What should I
Hmm.
pick out of ought or should? Okay,
Hmm.
go for something which you're 100% sure of, or which is in fact a concrete rule too.
Hmm.
In GMAT, it's a concrete rule such as modifier. It is a concrete rule such as subject, verb, pronouns. Okay, so here if we say company's products, that will make better sense, because when we say these products, so there hasn't been any discussion of any product, so that we can
Yeah.
say these product. These is a referent again. Okay, and
Yeah.
saying company's product will be I think precise. So it's better to say company's product. That will keep our answer precise and clear. Okay,
Yeah.
so answer will be B, not
Yeah. And I think Meher already answered it. So Meher basically said that it's B. So
C.
right, Meher. So there you go. You have the answer. Good call. Yeah.
Oh, so this is what we thought, will inform, we can, talk or we can lecture about modifiers today. Uh,
Yeah. For the
and
next, I think like we have another, you could say 20 minutes or 10 minutes, I think, left, right? So I think, Parminder, we can just open it to the like the audience, or we can just have like a short discussion on the marks. What
yeah, I would
your
like to,
call?
yeah, I've taken the enhanced score report, screenshot from enhanced score report of two of my students, two or three of my students. I
Yeah.
just wanted to show you, the importance of high score in verbal and math,
Yeah,
importance
yeah,
of,
yeah. I think we should
uh,
go about with that.
reading
Definitely.
comprehension. So you can see this one, score, which is 41 in verbal. Amazing. Okay. It's amazing.
Hmm.
Okay. I'll show you what is 40 plus means, in verbal. Okay. So you can see the placement of correct and incorrect. Huh? So this student can get a 41 because when the test started in the initial set, this student got 75 correct. That means the computer must have thrown, difficult level questions to the student. Okay. So in that difficult set, so this must be not very extremely difficult. This must be more than medium, slightly less than probably hardest level. So in this also the student got a huge percentage right. And when the computer must have thrown the next set, the student got 100%. So at this level probably the student had 650, 680 level questions correct. Then the computer must have thrown the hardest level. In that, the student got 62% correct. So matching all that, the student has got a 40 plus score. Okay.
Yeah.
So the placement of correct matters a lot. If you get maximum wrong in the starting, you will get easy questions. So
Yeah.
if you get all easy correct or half of them correct or 3 by 4 of them correct, then they will give you medium. And then if you get medium correct, then again you will probably have medium. So if you falter in the initial phase, or if you falter in the last phase, it's a
Make or
difficult,
break, basically.
it may be difficult for you to get a good score. So it says
Yeah.
94 percentile. Okay, so the student was a 94 percentile. That means one of the toppers, we can say.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that one and two are medium, three easy is easy, fourth is hard. So one and two, like okay, Meher, just to like let you know, like is Meher is saying that one and two are medium, three is easy, and fourth is hard. So first itself is medium plus hard level, I think, right? That's what we take. We go with that much of accuracy, because we, if you're like first 10 questions, you really need to work your, you could say, on the accuracy. And for the ones who are very much new to GMAT, my the thing that I want to say is that GMAT is an adaptive test. It's a question adaptive test. So that means that once you get your first question correct, the next question will be of a either of the same level or of a harder difficulty level. And you cannot go back to the previous question. So the ones who are absolutely new to GMAT, what we are right now discussing is something that possibly comes towards, you need to understand this before taking the test, right, Parminder? Right. Yeah.
And this is a score report of somebody who has written the test and ordered the score report,
Yeah.
just to see how that person has done. You can also do it after your paper. So you can see one more score. Here you can see the student got a 50% correct. So initial level, the first few questions in your test are of medium level in math and verbal both. Okay, are of medium level. So if you get wrong in that, for example, a 50-50, then computer is going to throw you easy, medium, plus, to see that where you are getting more correct. Then it will give you questions accordingly. So in the next set, which had some easy questions also, not only medium. Okay, so as Rishti said, the initial may have medium or hard, some hard too. So the computer understood that it's 50-50, so probably let me throw now easy. Okay, so in easy the student got a 50-71. So now again, when computer threw some more medium, so the performance dropped, and at last the computer must have thrown easy, medium together. So
Yeah.
therefore score is close to medium.
So this particular candidate might have not got that much hard difficulty level
Very few
questions.
hard questions.
Very few hard
One or two,
questions.
right?
Yeah. More on the easy and the medium part.
Medium,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So you can see, for this student who got a 31, you can see the percentage, correction of reading comprehension. Okay, I'm sorry, it doesn't mark that. So this was, I think, reading comprehension.
No, I think that is basically, it's the quant score, the verbal score, and the IR score that is there. Yeah.
Yeah. So through this slide, I think I have, yeah.
Yeah, that is the.
So I wanted to include one more slide, which actually shows you that in reading comprehension, sentence correction, and critical reasoning. So if you want a higher score, you need to have a 90% plus correct in two of the categories, and for 41, okay, 90 plus correct in one of the for two of the categories, and at least 75% correct in the third one. Okay, this is for your total score. For your total score also, I show you two slides and the difference. So 74th percentile in math, 61st percentile in verbal. So the score is 660. Okay. For this student who got a 710, you can see 67th percentile for math. That's quite low. Okay. And 90th percentile for verbal. So a higher percentile for verbal can actually push your score up.
Yeah, I think it's the either way, both ways. If a kid is getting
these days actually you can see at 48 it is 67%.
Yeah,
At 50 also it's 7.
So kids are doing very well, like
very well in math.
In math. So even I would want to point out this for people, like just to take this opportunity. Many students, they come to me with like they want to go ahead with MBA and then they want to specialize in finance. So if there is any candidate who's like looking at that, we would be requiring a good quant score. That is something that is definite when it comes to, especially when we are looking at good B schools, and typically when we are looking at, you could say, US gives a lot of percentage to GMAT, all right? And your GMAT score is a make and a break game when we are talking of schools like Kelly, schools like Tepper, right? So we're looking at like good schools there, but if your GMAT score is not that up to the mark, there are times that we have to really work on your profile for that.
Mm.
So first take is always GMAT when you're applying for MBA, guys. You need to make sure that you're scoring well in both the subjects, not just in quant, but both ways. Right, Parminder?
Yeah,
Right.
and we wanted to talk about, the scoring, because at the back of the mind, this is running, that what if I get, my students ask, what if I get 13 wrong? What if I get 15 wrong?
Yeah,
Placement
yeah,
matters, so I wanted to show placement matters. Considering that you all are, doing some sort of, work yourself, all these details. Then, how to get a highest score, what percentile you need in each section, verbal, quant, all these. Okay. So we are ready to take your questions,
yeah,
and
yeah.
let's have questions from you. Okay, any type of question.
So this is from Ishaq. He's saying that I recently got my British nationality. Congratulations. So I need to continue my further studies in UK. Now I'm in India. Most importantly, I need to join as a home student in UK university. Please advise me to join part-time courses with scholarship. Okay. I'm interested in pharmacy, physiotherapy, nutrition, and diet. Okay, Ishaq, I will get our experts in touch, basically in touch with you, because it's going to be a detailed conversation. We'll have to look at your profile for this. And like we'll have to look at, you could say certain, like this is a good thing that you already have that UK nationality thing, but we'll have to look at your work experience and everything based on before we can suggest like this randomly. Okay. I'll get my experts to get in touch with you for sure.
So,
Any other question?
so
Yeah.
some of you, as you were saying, you're preparing since Feb, and you're finding it difficult. If you need help, you should, you should seek help. Okay, don't just get stuck somewhere. So sometimes, a teacher can help you best, that where you need to put the, efforts and to get a good score.
Yeah.
Don't hesitate, taking help. I think that's important. Yeah, good help is, rare. So
Yeah.
that needs to be made sure that you go to the right people. Okay.
Hmm.
Please ask questions if you have any related to, any topic, and we would welcome suggestions from you for the next webinar. So we are doing this webinar today because our students asked us to do a webinar on modifiers specifically. So our last webinar was on random, GMAT topic, GMAT,
Plus
test.
good attention on, I think that, sentence correction.
Mhm.
We wanted to get that because, so now based on that very webinar, we had students tell us that please do a webinar on modifiers.
Modifiers.
Yeah, yeah. So
So
any
give us,
other
yeah, give us
webinar?
suggestions. Whether you want to do critical reasoning, reading comprehension, though I would say, you come and take a trial class rather than, doing a webinar on probably such complex topics.
Hmm.
And but yes, if you want any webinar on any specific topic, please, write in the
Just reach
chat.
out to us. Like you can always comment on YouTube or just look at the Leverage Live and reach out to us on Facebook or Instagram, and like we are there. So just reach out to us, and we'll basically cater to the doubts which you are having in context to GMAT, or if you want, like I told the other time, that it's hard to, we were discussing that it was hard to basically get on a, you could say, a webinar basically for 700 800 questions, but we will definitely try to get that also. And before, like we should be covering certain topics before that, right, Parminder? I think that we should be covering topics, yeah, before we can
Hmm.
just jump on to 700 800 level questions, right? So anyway, I think that like our time is there. All right then, so thank you for having us, and thank you for being here, guys. And like I said, just log on to our website. Even I would like to just take this moment to just say that Leverage Edu website happens to have a lot of content that will just assist you, irrespective. So
Hmm.
just reach out to us, look at the website. You'll see there are so many textbooks there itself. There are so many, you could say, video lectures on UK, on different types of courses outside. So we're already doing that, how to build a good SOP, everything for that matter. And well, we're there to assist you, right? Right, Parminder, go ahead. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Hope to see you in, probably one-to-one sessions with us. Please write to us, call us if you have any problem. And if you want to do a one-to-one session to understand your problem area, we are always ready.
Yeah,
So we hope,
absolutely. That can
We
always
need
be
to.
done. Yeah. Just a problem area and you want certain hours and just this thing. So we are there. We'll definitely assist you based on that as well.
All the very best from our side.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Bye. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you.